So the way we've been building with it is almost like you're running uh, an AI agent parallel to you. So like it's not, it is building it for you, but it's not like you're guiding it, and so you're building in an IDE, and then um, what I'm doing, I connected via API to Stitch, and because it had all the context for what I wanted to build, I didn't have any brand guidelines because the site I was building was just a
Yeah.
test site. But it kind of said, hey, what do you think of these colors? And then was watching on my other screen on Stitch, and it was building. Um, so like the homepage, it built 4 homepages. Like, which one do you like? I picked it. Okay.
Yeah.
And it said, which service page
Okay.
do you like? Picked it. And then what like listing page do you like? And so it slowly built it out. And I pulled all those files in, and then I had so it was a directory. So I had, I don't know, 4,000 listings. I had it all like organized. So I zipped it up. I sent it to Vince, my senior developer, and then he took it. And then it goes up. When it goes up, it looks like if you don't know WordPress super well, it looks like WordPress,
Okay.
and it's like got pages and posts. And when I was doing a test site, that ecom I sent you and Nick that ecom test
Yeah.
site,
Yeah. Yeah.
it recognized the AI recognized that there were products, and it built an ecom tab, which I
Wow.
was like, okay. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. We're thinking about moving over to it. We just have to check for us. Obviously, SEO is a huge factor, and
Interesting.
that's
Yeah,
the
that's
question.
literally I was gonna ask you about that because there's a company that it's called like Green Guard and they do like hood cleaning and stuff. But they
Mm-hmm.
actually reached out to me. I don't know if we talked. I think I mentioned this last podcast, but in regards to like SEO and using Claude and all of that, just to kind of how to help kickstart it. Um, but yeah, I'm curious on something like this, like how hard or easy would it be to move? Because they have like franchises, right? So they have like
Mm-hmm.
80 websites and they all have like 40 pages or something per website. But like, do you think people would be easily able to move over a WordPress site, or is it like you got to start fresh with all of it?
When you say move over WordPress site from what?
From WordPress to this new software you're talking about that you're trying out?
Oh,
Like, is that like whole
we could
thing
do.
or?
My team can do it. I don't know. Like our junior devs, I don't think can do it, but my senior
Yeah,
devs could do it. Yeah, I definitely think
interesting.
my senior dev. We haven't done that yet, so that's what we're doing. We're testing right now. But
Yeah,
once we test, I mean, we should. I guess we did it with one site technically, but it was a one-page site. Um, I wonder how we would do it. I guess we could just screenshot all of them because they're not going to have
yeah,
Figma files for it. I guess yes. So I guess we could. There's a couple ways to do it. Crawl, but you're not going to have the design. So crawl, screenshot. Yeah, it could be done.
yeah,
I mean, it's not going to be fast, but it's not going to
yeah,
be
yeah,
slow either. And then the SEO part, we're still trying to figure out. So,
yeah. Okay.
but yeah, it's looking good. All right. So today we are talking about how a non-technical business thinks about AI.
Yeah,
And so that's something the two of us do spend most of our time on, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, Last time we talked we talked more technical. We talked where AI is going, but I think most people that I talk to, at least, it sounds like you do too, are non-technical businesses. So for me, it's doctors. I know it sounds weird to say engineers are non-technical, but they're not. Um, they're not developers, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Even in your daily job, uh, I guess right, you don't work with a lot of developers. So that's the question I get most right now. What are, when somebody, I know what I say, but what's like the first question you ask when someone says, hey, Ryan, how do I get in on this AI stuff?
Very first is what repetitive tasks do you have on a day to day or week to week or even month to month basis that one or two of your employees have to do and kind of sit there and spend a lot of time on. So heavy time use repetitive task is kind of like the first place to target because I think especially with AI in this day and age, that's the most reliable way to start implementing AI with the biggest ROI on those kind of replacements and implementations. Yeah.
And when they jump in to, hey, should I be using Claude? Should I be using ChatGPT, Gemini? How do you steer them? How do you guide them? What do you at? Like, where do you go from there after they're like, all right, I wrote down all the repetitive tasks. Now what do I do?
So if I'm selling to them, then I'm selling them a process or a workflow or some sort of software that I will be building out for them. And I will be the expert on that, on what models I want to implement into that model or into that software or program. Because for something repetitive, right now I know Claude has, I forgot what they named it, but it's something that is repeatable, but it's not the same as a built out workflow or a built out system that something like you or I would custom build out. Those kind of processes, you still have to go in, manually ask it something. So they're not ran on like a timer, like a cron job as they call it nowadays. So
it's Claude calls it what? Claude.
It's like I forgot. Schedules? I can probably see on Claude schedules. Yes, schedules or something. Yeah, which is good. But again, that's not going to go into your database. That's not going to go, like, say you need to send emails to the VPs based on what, like, new data that's come in. It's not going to go find your database, take the most recent information, format it into a proper email with names, numbers, whatever emails, and then send it off to those people. It's just not going to do that unless you sit there and prompt it.
Right. And one of the things, even if you do set up the schedule, one of the things that if you're listening to this, that and you're not deep into the AI world, that you won't recognize is Claude is built for the solo person. It's not great across the company. So I have like 2 comments on what Ryan said. The first one is everyone jumps to Claude. Claude is building out. If you get on, the FOMO around Claude is real. It's, hey, they have schedules this week. Now they're doing design stuff that came out, yesterday, 2 days ago. And so they're shipping these functionalities all the time. For a solo person or a small team that's organized, and when I say small team, I mean like less than 5 or less. Anything bigger than that, if you can't all sit around a table and have one person talking and all of them listening, your team is too big to be working solo in Claude. And so what I have found, so we have 14 people, is we have the managers all have Claude seats and they're free to do and build there, but nothing can stay there. So whether it be we write a spreadsheet app script, I do that a lot. I wouldn't say that's AI. I would say that's AI assisted workflows. But spreadsheets, power up a ton of stuff that if you've never written an app script can change your world. But once it goes into the team, we have to install it on a VPS. So that's non-technical people, a virtual private server, which exists in the cloud. So it's taking some action. So we have every client of ours, we're building these out right now, has its own AI agent that's supervising all data. It doesn't make any decisions, but it watches all of their marketing data and pushes that into a Slack notification every day. So every day, we have a Slack notification on all of the marketing data for every client we have. And so we just have an overview. And so tomorrow morning, it's our SEO team call. I can go right in there. I can see all of like, hey, this push. Hey, are we? And it's never, this is really important. We don't ever blindly follow it. I mean, it gives us good ideas or suggestions. Like, oh, it's interesting, but it's feeding us data that like I and my other senior person we don't have insight into anymore because there's too many people, there's too many clients, and our team is watching all of this. But this is really cool that it can surface some data quickly. So that's an AI automation built for a team, where it is these platforms you get stuck in quite a bit. The other thing I was going to say is usually the person who pays both Ryan and I is the owner, or it's a C-suite person, and it's only natural, right? They want to solve their problem. And we touched on this last time. Oftentimes, the repetitive problems to solve don't exist with you, the owner, the decision maker. They exist with, for me, when I talk to people, it's like, who are their 80-20 employees? So who's the 20% doing 80% of the work? Hopefully not. Your business isn't like that, but if we're being realistic, there's definitely going to be a few of those people. They probably come right to mind when I say that. What are they doing that's repetitive? Because if you can free them up to go tackle other things, life gets really
Yeah.
good. So that's how
Yeah.
I think a lot about, my team. So really interesting use case right now. We have a rock star account manager, and she's incredible. And so she spends too much time. Like, someone says, hey, can you change the date of this sale on my website? Sure. And she puts it into the task management system, and then the developer does it, and then the developer comes back to her, says this is right. If the developer makes a mistake, then she has to be like, no, it's right, and you lose that time. And so
Yep.
that cycle time could be 48 hours, which is like silly when it's something as simple as that.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is, with her approval, I actually was kind of hesitant to do this, but she's like, my work email is my work email. They're not hiding anything, which
Yep.
does make sense. So we're going to take her email, we're going to put it through AI, and anything AI identifies as a task request, it's automatically going to load into our task management system. And so first thing in the morning, she can see, and she can just be like, yes, no, yes, no. So it's going to make
Yep.
the task. She doesn't even have to put it in anymore. So that's step one. Step two is, if it's a website change, it makes the website change on a staging server, and then she can approve it. So you don't even need that huge cycle turnaround time
Yeah.
for a dev. So that's some of the ways that, like, I'm thinking about freeing up, Rockstar's time to help them, because I want her on the phone with the clients, helping them building that relationship and not submitting tasks all day.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's great.
All right, so someone decides to implement AI. I think this is something I've heard a lot. This is something you hear a lot, enterprise level. Obviously, economically, if you look at AI, the revenue, the economic growth is right. It was first seen by NVIDIA, which was the hardware producers.
Yep.
Now it's starting to seem like, hey, maybe Anthropic's going to see it, maybe ChatGPT is going to see it, XAI, those model creators are going to see it. But the big press is the enterprise, like the Salesforces of the world, aren't seeing it, or the Oracles. And so they're all running towards AI, but they're not seeing an economic benefit. So what does, for you, success look like when implementing AI? I have actually an interesting take on this, but when you're working with somebody, what do you think success looks like for AI implementation?
Yeah, so my experience, obviously it differs person to person, but a thing I like to do with a lot of my clients, and probably a lot of if there's any developers listening, they'll know about this, but like I always build a requirements, either checklist, little Google Doc, Word doc, whatever it may be, outlining before anything's implemented what the client or company's almost dreams or goals of what their successes would look like after a system like this is built in. And most of the time it is X amount of dollars saved based on like a specific, say, employee's task we're helping with, or X amount of time saved in realms like that. But before building any of the systems, we kind of know this is what our requirements are. We're going to custom tailor these solutions to ensure we achieve these exact XYZ results. And even the most recent client I worked with, we built out like a RAG system, and which is retrieval augmented generation, for a database they had. It was a SQL database. And it was just like a basic chat bot that you would be able to, in natural language, ask it questions on. It had 14 point something million rows of data. So most employees would take a long time to either query or try use their front end that they kind of built that was not great to find like basic pieces of information. And our whole thing with that build was just being able to help all those different employees speed up their individual tasks, whether it's 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 3 minutes there. And end of the day, it did that. It was a very successful project on that sense. But it really depends on who you're talking to, because a lot of like what you talk about, like the business owners, their first thing is money. A lot of the people I'm talking about is, I want to save X amount of dollars on this and this. And I'm like, yeah, that's obviously a possible thing, because you can equate time to money and all of that. But end of the day, at least in my experience, most of the success looks like or comes from how much time is saved on those tasks, because it really compounds. Just giving a single tool that, say, took me 2 weeks to build for somebody, and letting them use it week after week after week, that time is just you're saving unbelievable amounts of time that allows them to do whatever other tasks they want to do, or frees them up to do stuff with their kids, their hobbies, whatever it may be. So
I think I have a couple. I have so my clients are a little different, right, than yours. Mine tend to be lawyers, doctors, engineers,
yep.
and local professionals. Um, Customer satisfaction, like, can AI increase customer satisfaction? So uh, that doesn't immediately show up in
Yeah.
revenue generated or money saved, but what it does show up in is year over year referrals from happy customers. And so
Yep.
I talk a lot in marketing about the flywheel effect, like as your brand gets spinning. So like my wife's a good example. I caught Ryan. I caught you off guard last time with how much I knew about breastfeeding. Um, but for her, it was like, hey, she got one client this week and she's like, should we do marketing? I'm like, no, you're going to get busy. The second week, it was like she had 2 clients, and it was like 3 clients. And last week she had 4. She's like, I don't want to do more than 4. I mean, she is a lactation consultant at a hospital as well. She's like, I don't want to do more than 4. I'm like, I told you, like, this is going to wind up. It's this
Yeah.
flywheel effect where people start to learn what you do and they start, right. It's like the ping pong ball, like, on the mousetrap. Like once it goes,
Yep.
it's slow and then it all explodes at
Yep.
once.
Yep.
So that's the flywheel effect I talk about in marketing. I think that AI can support some of that. At least that's how we think about it. Where can AI do things that help the customers? And then the way I think about it internally, we're building things like, so we're obviously, we have technical background, but one of the things a lot of our clients wish we could do, and it's right. I tell people, like, there's a time cost to what we do. So if you want a creative director in the door building this beautiful, gorgeous website, I mean, we've quoted people 60, 70, $80,000 before, because you're going to spend 100 hours on design, which if you're a small business and you're hearing that right now, you're like, oh my God, I can't fathom that. But when, a company, does $100 million, like, that's the level of that they expect. But then we have clients that have seen us build some of these websites, and then we want that. Well, we can't necessarily deliver maybe the design, we call them like the design labs, or the design where we sit down with you and we figure out all your hopes and dreams and turn that into design. But what we can do, and what we're using AI to do, is say, hey, go give us your 3 best websites, which we've always done. And then we ask them, like, what to pick out of that. So now we have a transcript of them talking about it. We have visuals of what they like. And then we have their brand guidelines. Hopefully they have a logo. Usually that's what we get to work with. Guidelines off of that. So AI can build brand guidelines off of a logo. Rough. We can get a thumbs up to that. And so we're starting to deliver websites that visibly punch above their weight class, because we can use AI to pull some of those in. And again, there has to be some give and take on that, because it's a time thing. So we might not be sitting with you the whole time to get to that, but we can get, if you can identify some of those things. So that, I guess that is customer service as well, but it's customer service through technology. So that's another thing we're doing.
Okay.
What?
I'm gonna put you on the spot quickly here for, like we mentioned, the smaller business owners and stuff, and what you do in websites. What are the big differences between, if I'm a small business owner, I talk to you, you give me your pitch and whatever about what you'll build for us, but then I go find a website like Lovable or something, where if I use it, it's going to cost me, say, probably like $400 or $500 in credits. Realistically, like, it shows it's 20 a month, but it's not. You get 2 quotes or 2 prompts for $20, and you got to buy credits. But what are the big differences between someone like you, who's, like, obviously owns a very successful business that's utilizing AI to help clients produce these really pretty websites, versus someone like, if I'm a small business owner, just going and spending $500-$600 and trying to prompt my own website that I think I like? What are your benefits there?
Yeah, so I have a couple answers. So the first answer, I would say, if your cost sensitivity is, I'm going to use a few $100s in credits for Lovable, or go to Fiverr, you should go do Lovable. Like, I think you should do that exercise. I think that's a really useful use of your time
Yep.
to learn about what it is that you want for your business.
Yep.
What you don't know about Lovable is that it doesn't index well, meaning that the code database from a Lovable is going to struggle. And if SEO is critical to what you do, search engine optimization, it's not going to rank well. Furthermore, you're not going to have enough knowledge to even know how to structure that website. You're not going to have enough knowledge to how to do competitor analysis or even decide what the URL structure should be. Where should the buttons go and the conversion rate? And AI will produce something that you're going to go, yeah, that seems good, because you don't know.
You don't know better.
You don't know any different.
No, 100%. Yep.
It's like I'm a big football guy, and so you'll hear like people get all angry at rookie quarterbacks. They're like, well, why didn't they make this throw or that throw? It's like they only playing with 30% of the playbook because you can't give it to them all because it's overwhelming. And it's the same thing. Like AI makes you, for better or for worse, AI can make you a little overconfident. And my example for that
Very true.
is I tried to build a financial dashboard. I'm like, I'm going to build a CFO dashboard, and I sat down and I got thing that showed me numbers, and I was like, I don't even know. Like I called she's like she's not really a CFO, fractional CFO, but she's more than a CPA for sure. And I called her and I'm like, Lorna, I'm like, she's like laughed at me. She's like, you don't even know what you're doing. Stop it. It's the same idea. So, and then obviously there's different flavors of websites. So, what types of images and like how much time and like who's writing the content, if you're writing the content, like there's so many variables to all of that. If it's e-commerce, right? So we're talking about websites, so we're gonna do it in parts, but the first part won't be e-commerce, but hopefully next year we do the e-commerce side. The e-commerce side has 1.4 million SKUs. Like now, obviously a business like that is not going to Lovable, but these are things you're thinking about as you're building websites. I just delivered yesterday, and you forget how much goes into just the SEO part, and let alone the design part. And like when I saw the whole proposal between the design, we're partnered with a design team on this, we're partnered with a creative agency on this, or a branding agency, and then we're the SEO team. It was like that is no one person has the specialty all together to build a site of that quality. It's going to take 3 separate companies to put this together. And then to hear like, not to pick on chiropractors, but like a chiropractor, like, yes, you absolutely can go to Lovable and pick it and do it. Then, stage 2 would be kind of like our lower end. Stage 3 might be our middle end. Stage 4 might be our higher end. And stage 5 is like, I would be honest, like we're not even qualified probably to do stage 5 and 6. Like that's when you get into like the super developers. These are people that are, all they do is code. All they do is branding. Our biggest strength is SEO. So like we are capable. We have the team to deal with that. So there's just levels, right? Just like in anything else in this world, there's levels to that. Sorry, long-winded answer.
No, that's good. Yeah, it's prompted more questions. I have another thing on that.
Go ahead.
And it's about kind of what we talked about last week, but about how there's a lot of things in the world of AI moving toward or away. I'll start with from almost that SaaS, the softwares as a service, and moving towards like a finished product or an output is the service. So instead of selling someone, like in this case, Lovable, since I'll just go off of this, Lovable is the software you can use to produce your little output you want. That like I've tried it and it doesn't work. Like it's cool, it looks cool, but it's not good. Right. Versus like going with you, where I'm going to pay you to use AI, do whatever you do best to get me an output that I really want. And I think a lot of these other industries, and I don't have that Sequoia thing we talked about last week, are moving towards that kind of model of like understanding what the company needs, what your needs are, how to get to that output. They get paid to do whatever they do in the back end to give that now client their output that they want on a monthly basis, weekly basis. That just kind of sparked that thought of seeing kind of where things are going.
Well, it seems like we're splitting, right? So like those middle ground, so we are not a SaaS, we're a service company, but those middle ground SaaS, so like a middle ground SaaS, I don't know, like a social poster. My team can duplicate a social poster. Like, what do
Yeah.
we need? We're not going to pay. Social posters, by the way, are every time I go to pay for one, I get angry. I'm like, I need to pay how many dollars for 70, or like if it's, I guess if we have 70 brands we're managing, you got to pay per
Yeah.
social feed. So if everyone has 5, right? You're just like, and they're like, we need $800, like $800
Yeah.
to like schedule a post. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we like now you can duplicate. So that like middle ground SaaS, I
Yeah.
feel like is getting devalued, where the
Yeah.
service companies like ours are eating them. But then the server the SaaSes that are data, the whole
Yeah.
like the Salesforces, or we were using, I guess Firecrawl really isn't a data company, but it allows you to access data. So for those who
Yeah.
don't know what Firecrawl is, it's a way to crawl the internet, and so I can just take that API key and I can give it to my AI. So if like I need to go get something, I had to send out an employee to a team, someone from our team, and like look at all these pages. Well, if I had thousands of pages, I could do some like sketchy scraping, which
Yeah.
is sketchy. The data doesn't come back super well. Now I can just use this really robust tool, give it to my AI, it writes a Python script, and then I have the data that I want. So those types of data companies, where I guess they don't own the data, but they're able to access the data.
Yeah.
Are going to become valuable. Salesforce announced, I don't know if you saw this, we're trailing here, but Salesforce announced that they're going to offer a headless, I guess I don't want to call it a headless browser. I don't even know that, like, this is where like my development knowledge kind of bumps into, but essentially that means that Salesforce, you will no longer need the platform that is Salesforce. You can build on top of it, but because they have so much data, like they're the data provider. So they just like, that's a really, like, that was like, everyone kind of freaked out last week when they announced it, basically saying like, they're going to make themselves available for AI, for like companies like me to build on top of them.
On top of it.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think you're going to see like you can already do this with Meta. You can already do it with Google, but tying into APIs and working with their like the ad platforms.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of stuff is going to get kind of murky and mixed.
Yeah.
And a point a friend made to me today was, for like me and you, Ryan, one of the more important things for the two of us to be learning right now is, how does everything actually connect to each other? Like, yes, I understand what an MCP is. Yes, I understand what API is, but like, you know, what's the difference between a regular API and a REST API? Or how is, like, what's the point of like HTTPS? Like, these are things like I kind of know, like I know, right? Or like an SSL certificate, but like, how does the world work securely? Because
that's huge.
Soon it's all just going to be a web of wires connecting everywhere, and the security of it all is going to get pretty sketchy.
Oh yeah.
So,
very true.
I have a question, and this one is, I know what you want. You want everyone to build stuff because that means that they're working with you. But build, buy, or integrate, I think, is something that a lot of owners don't comprehend, and I think there's a good use case for each one. I'd like to kind of hear like how you think about build, buy, or integrate.
I don't know. The build part's tough because it depends, and not from me trying to sell, but from the perspective like time. Like someone like me, I have like, because this is what I do. I have all the time in the world to explore, learn this, and do that. But like, I'll use like my family as an example. They're very busy with what they're doing in like the finance world, and they kind of dabble in AI and all that. But they're so, I don't know, all their time's taken up. They won't have the time to learn to build something decent. Like we even just talked about like a Lovable type thing. Of like, okay, like let me try this easy to use tool. Great, but you're not going to get an adequate product out of that in the first place. And unless you have the time to really put in and understand how things are working, how things that you're building are connecting, how, like we just talked about, how secure are they going to be if you're working with like pretty sensitive information. There's so many different things that people don't realize go into any sort of AI built application, to get it from an MVP to actually being able, like a production level. That I think is a huge thing that so many people don't really, even like other people I know in the AI space, that they just think they go Claude code for in 2 hours, build like a dashboard and think it's ready, but then they give it to someone and it just breaks.
Right.
So many people. So I think building is, unless you're already super involved in it and you have plenty of like a lot of time, understand the development, how a development process works, like all that, I don't think building is a viable option
Time
in
and
my
money.
opinion. Yeah,
Time and money.
time and yeah, you're right, and money, because it does cost a
Yeah.
lot too. I don't think it's a viable option. I think, especially if you're a business and you're making decent amount income month to month, I think it's worth either spending whatever sum of money it is on a tool, just a one-time thing, or paying companies, not to plug myself, but like me and other companies who for monthly retainers will build you out products, maintain said products, and kind of grow with you as you, like, I don't know, if you're saving time doing this, maybe you want to work towards something else that we can build
Mhm.
out and such. And I think that investment is very, very worth it, especially in the front of how fast everything is moving. A lot of people don't want to, what do you call it, fear of missing out, the FOMO, right?
Right.
So like if people are getting that, or us, you guys listening, are feeling that way, if you don't know much about it and you go and try and build yourself something, it takes you 4 or 5 weeks, I guarantee you new things are going to pop up. Like I built something back in February with the whole OpenClaw when it was like getting really big. I built
Mhm.
some like side spin off of it, thought it was the next big thing. And then like
Yeah.
2 weeks later, Claude Code announces something like, oh my
Mhm.
God. And then everyone started announcing stuff. So it's like, unless you can stay on top of it too, buying, I think is the way to go, in
So
my opinion.
we talked about harnesses last time, and it's a broad
Yeah.
thing, but I guess for people that are listening, like, the people that I work with, what if you're analyzing a new CRM, does it have an API? So this is where I go to hybrid. I don't think you should build. I don't think you should buy. I don't think you should integrate. I think you should kind of do a hybrid approach. So um, if you have something big and unwielding to build, Ryan, right? Like Ryan's your guy. But you're going to integrate into things to make their life easier. You're not, as far as I know, you're not showing up and recoding a whole CRM. You're going to say, what is your CRM doing?
Yeah.
So now so like it's this hybrid approach where you're taking an existing tool, you're integrating it
Yep.
with something else. I think that's what AI is unlocking for most businesses, like truly developed from the ground up with a dev team. Uh, Unless you are a developer, like that's kind of
Yeah.
a unwielding
Yep.
undertaking. So asking like, I mean, the CRM is the obvious one, but um, I haven't done this yet, but I think this will be an interesting. Someone made this joke, like everyone's going to build their own ERP. It's going to be a disaster, and someone else goes, "Yeah, well, what ERP implementation has ever not been a disaster?"
Yeah, it's true.
So, like, if AI can improve that in the slightest, that's a win. But
Yeah.
looking at the tools you have, how you might connect them, cutting out maybe some redundancy around maybe some tools. One of the things I did actually yesterday, and so you heard me kind of reference it earlier, was obviously my team, we have a lot of SEO experts here. Um, that's one thing we do get involved in nationally. Like, we are really qualified to do that. And I had a unique situation where I had to um, estimate what the project was going to cost. But because we had been, like, certain parts of the project we weren't doing, like, I didn't have a good way to, like, I didn't
Yeah.
have a tool, right? And so I took all of the documentation, I took the design call, the design spreadsheet. So I had all of the site roughed out from the design team, and I started working with AI. And then I got to an Excel spreadsheet that was an estimating tool, and it had right. I knew what sections needed to be there
Yeah.
because we are SEO experts, but I knew what all the sections were. Then it helped me work through like low, medium, high hours on each one of them. It helped me adjust some of the inputs on like, what do we want, like hourly, like what are we trying to get out of
Yeah.
this. That spreadsheet, if I were to have coded that up myself, would have taken me 5 hours, and I had
Yeah.
it in 5 minutes because I knew
Yep.
what the right questions were to ask. So
Yep.
I just think of, like, you got a guy paving a drive. We have to get our driveway redone. and he shows up and he used that wheel we have a funny
Yep.
shaped driveway. We use that wheel to go around the driveway.
Yep.
He's like, all right, it's, the perimeter is 1,000 feet, and then he's like, well, now I have to figure out like the widest part. Like, you could have a pretty good estimator tool put together with AI for like a situation like that, or my friends who are building. So like those are unique situations where like, and maybe you don't want to build it, and that's where like Ryan comes in to build those things out. But those are really good use cases of building apps potentially for yourself that you couldn't do, or it would take you a long time before, or if you had to edit it. I was teaching a friend last week. He's actually sells military equipment, and he's like, "Oh, I got to teach him about this AI stuff." And I was just showing him how to like just build basic folder systems, so he could just go back and like, this is a quoting system, and like this is going to ask you these questions and gives it its product catalog. So some of those questions, like being curious about like how can AI short those things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm curious for this next question. When you build an AI tool for, let's say you work with an outside vendor that builds you some AI functionality, who at the company, not you, but like, let's say they're working with you, but who at the company, the client, is responsible for owning that process, or or are you just handling it all? What does that look like once the handoff exists? You train them, like, what if something goes wrong? How do they get a hold of you? How are they fixing it themselves? What does that handoff process look like?
Yeah. So let's think of one I've worked with recently, like a real estate company. Originally, I worked with the owner, and this actually went exactly on what you were talking about how you don't always got to help the owner. You can help the employees. But so as the owner I worked with at the beginning, like we talked to him, gave him my proposals, all that. He agreed, paid everything clean and clear. And then he put me into contact with actually his executive assistant. So kind of unique situation for this, but we pretty much built them, like you can call them like an AI operator. So it was able to connect to a bunch of different tools that they were currently using, databases, messaging platforms, CRMs, all of it, exactly what we've been speaking about. And then also had just a chat feature that they could talk to and ask the questions on any of the stuff they were doing. So we gave them that, and it's been about like 3 or 4 months. And I actually have just directly worked with her, Mackenzie's her name, for those past 3 months. And just she pings me every few days, every week, whatever it might be, ask questions on it, and I help her out if there's anything actually severe wrong, or if something breaks, or if the servers go down, their computer turns off, whatever it might be. I'm able to just come right back in. I use an app called TeamViewer. You probably heard of it. Just to literally log into the session and help them out. And that's just how I work. And that's why earlier when I said buy, don't build, of having someone to work with who knows the space. Like, it's almost like, I don't want to say the word consultant, but in a sense it is too, because I'm keeping up to date with everything. I'm able to push updates based on new things I'm learning, new things that like maybe I experiment with some new stuff, and I'm like, wait, this would be perfect for this client. Let me go talk to him. I talk to him, and I'm like, hey, we're going to push this update because this, and this. But yeah, I think it's best to work with whoever's going to be utilizing the tool most, who like you choose, or what department you're choosing, based on all the different factors that like we discussed earlier, and then working directly with them. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion.
So potentially the $1 million question, how does somebody figure out how much this is going to cost them?
I build my own quotes.
Right.
But from someone else's perspective,
I have a funny answer to this.
Yeah, let's hear your answer, because I honestly, I've drawn a blank. I don't really.
So I do fractional CFO consulting sometimes, and I will charge $300 an hour. So if I am charging $300 an hour and I sit down and say, I'm going to build myself something, I'm going to be at this for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Right. Two thoughts go through my head. Is this going to help me learn and grow, or am I just doing this because I need to get it done? and once it's done, it's done. So like that's how I think about it, and that's how I would coach somebody who's thinking about any, even if it's not AI, anything. Like, what do you charge your clients? Is that time of you sitting down to figure that out worth it? Because it's going to take you twice as long as it's going to take an expert. And the other thing about AI that's really hard to have a non-AI person comprehend, and you touched on this earlier, but you and I spend all day in front of a computer playing with this stuff, and it changes. Claude is basically shipping every 36 hours at this point. So, when I say shipping, like we saw Claude Design come out 2 days ago. We saw whatever they shipped last, like
the schedules was last week.
We're going to end this podcast. We're going to talk about another one here shortly about like the new models that came out. So like then you have to test, like Opus 4.7 is out. Opus 4.7 is behaving very differently than 4.6. How do you get out of it what you need? And so these are things like, let's say you were coding with 4.6, Opus 4.6 last week. You were using, how do I say this? You were using language of like double check your work. That is now wasted token usage with 4.7. And so I know this, but like we've all, like the AI world has figured this out in the last 36 hours. And if you come to AI once every couple of weeks, you're prompting with your prompts from last week, and you're like, holy cow, I just burned through every token I have in 10 minutes. What happened? And you're on Opus 4.6. Like, you have no idea, right? That's how and it sounds silly, but it's like, that's just how fast it moves right now. And so if you're not really in it, those are like the little things that'll slip past you. So that's this one ran long, but this was actually really good. I think we got a lot of sections here.
I was gonna say.
All right, anything to close this out, or I will we'll stop it and move to the next one.
I'm talked.